It's a cold, late winter day in New England. Not spring. We're still very much in the throes of winter. There's still snow on the ground, the temps are still below freezing, and the warm vernal blooms of April and May are still a few weeks off. This is mid-March, but in spite of that, there's not only a plant blooming here, it's thriving. Symplocarpus foetidus, the eastern skunk cabbage, thrives in the cold, wet, and shaded woodland steppes of the Northeast and across much of the eastern half of North America. It's more or less the earliest blooming plant across much of its range, and that's especially true here in New England, the area we focus on in this channel. Symplocarpus foetidus ranges from, essentially, the southern half of New England, through the Appalachians at higher elevations, and west into the Great Lakes. Absent from much of the high elevations of northern New England and the southeastern coastal plain, its preferred habitat is wet vernal pools and stream sides and shaded woodlands. Absent from the sunny bogs and fens, also common in this region, this is a plant that prefers fresh, cool water in a rich forest duff, as opposed to the more acidic, exposed, and nutrient-deficient habitats more commonly associated with wetlands of the region. A member of the family Araceae, the arum family, this winter-blooming plant is actually most closely related to many popular houseplants such as monstera, philodendron, and alocasia, amongst many other tropical members of the family. As far as native relatives go, Arissima triphyllum, known as jack-in-the-pulpit, Peltandra virginica, the green arrow arum, and numerous species of small aquatic plant known as a duckweed represent its northeastern cousins. Specifically, it is in the Odontioideae subfamily. This subfamily is a basal subfamily of the arum family, meaning it broke off from the rest of the family early on, offering a glimpse of what some of the more primitive arums may have looked like. In this subfamily, we have other species of Symplocarpus, native to East Asia and Japan, Lysochiton, including the western skunk cabbage and another East Asian species, and Orontium aquaticum, a species very rare here in the Northeast, but found throughout the coastal Southeast. As mentioned before, the species favors shaded wooded steppes rich with the foliage of deciduous oaks, maples, and hickories, as well as the shed pine needles from a dominant species here, the imposing eastern white pine, Pinus strobus. Present in the understory here are various species in the blueberry family, Ericaceae. Galteria procumbens, the eastern teaberry, forms a rim around the vernal pool, as well as Kalmia angustifolia, commonly called sheep laurel, Chimaphila maculata, the so-called striped wintergreen, as well as Vaccinium corymbosum, the blueberry species commonly sold simply as blueberries in your local grocery store, grow around the rim of the vernal pool as tall shrubs. Here we see Michella repens, the partridgeberry, a predominant understory plant of the eastern forests and a relative of coffee, growing on a moss mat right alongside Symplocarpus foetidus. Rarely, if ever, is Onoclea sensibilis, the sensitive fern, absent from the habitat of skunk cabbage. Here, we can only see its dried-out, spore-bearing fronds, as it is an extremely cold-intolerant fern. Skunk cabbage gets its common name from its foul, skunky odor, which is attractive to its pollinators. Also attractive to pollinators is its ability to generate heat, making it a buffet and a refuge for early emerging insects seeking respite from the winter cold, and allowing it to thaw whatever ice may still be keeping it encased and frozen. Its leaves aren't visible while the plant is in bloom, but they are a moderately popular forage for white-tailed deer. The plant also has an incredibly thick underground root system which stabilizes the soggy organic substrate upon which it grows, preventing erosion and ensuring the vernal pools in which they grow serve to nourish the surrounding plant community it's taking part in. This plant is actually of little use to humans. Its leaves are technically edible when boiled, but it's better off left alone as it's not particularly palatable, and the high concentration of calcium oxalate in its leaves make it potentially harmful to your kidneys. Perhaps this plant's biggest utility to humanity is serving as a beautiful, if not unconventional, beacon of the impending spring. Taking a close-up look at the inflorescence, we will take note of the overall structure indicative of the family Araceae, the spadix and the spathe. The colorful purple and green spathe is a bract, a modified leaf typically serving as an accessory to a plant's inflorescence. The term inflorescence merely being the term describing a plant's flowering structure in its entirety. Looking inside at the spadix, we see that this is not one flower, but a globe of highly reduced flowers. The flowers of Symplocarpus foetidus are perfect, or bisexual, meaning they produce both male stamens, seen here prominently, and a female pistil, which is not as easy to see. The fruit matures into a somewhat hard, somewhat fleshy capsule containing seeds the size of small marbles. Unusual for monocots, Symplocarpus foetidus produces 4 stamens per flower, not the usual 3, 6, or other multiple of 3 considered typical for other plants in the monocot clade, such as lilies, trillium. The vegetation is not visible at this stage. Large whorls of vibrant green leaves will soon emerge from the ground, only to mostly fade away by the late summer. By late fall, there is little sign of the bounty that had bloomed here earlier in the year. If you like this shorter, more concise, and in my opinion, higher quality video format, let me know. I won't be stopping the main format of the show, but I hope to alternate these in with interviews or another type of video in order to get these videos out weekly as opposed to bi-weekly. For this botanizing season, I plan to focus this particular series on plants I know well, while saving newer experiences for the more candid and unscripted NEcology series that I've been doing so far. I won't ask for likes or subscribers, but I do hope you go outside, find this plant, and share what you have learned here with others on a walk through your local forest. Lastly, the music in the background of this video was composed and written by myself for the Skunk Cabbage. I hope to make this a recurring gimmick of the series, and I will provide a link down below in the description where you can find this song and future releases for download. Thank you.